Alright, Nate coming back at you with yet another Godzilla movie review. Next I'm coming at you with Godzilla versus the Sea Monster. This is one I've always kind of liked just because, as you know, if you watch my lake reviews, I like water, I like the ocean. Well, I don't really like the ocean because, I don't know, I don't have as much exposure to it, and it's too salty for my taste. But I like water, and I guess I like the idea of the ocean. So, you know, this is one of the only, I mean, pretty much the only, you know, Godzilla. Well, Godzilla's in the ocean all the time and stuff, but oh god. Anyway, I guess what I was gonna say is one of the only like water, ocean-based, you know, monsters, you know, there is, which is like Hedorah, I believe. And this movie's pretty cool. You know, one thing I do like about it, the beginning of it, is like the whole, you know, like yacht or the whole boat yacht aspect of it and stuff like that, and the goofiness about this guy who lost his brother or whatever and finds out about this dance competition where whoever lasts the longest with dancing for days and days on end will win this yacht. So he goes there, and of course he's you know, he's way too late. He can't start. He's a couple days, 3 days late to start or whatever. But that's just such a goofy. I imagine that's modeled after real things that they did in Japan, like that show about just dancing. We're testing our youth, the endurance of our youth, to see how long they can dance for. I bet that has to be based on real TV shows of the time. So I'm pretty sure, now don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure this movie has some pretty great music, like the opening credit music and stuff. I know I think if this ain't the one, then I'll edit this this part out. So then, yeah, I won't have said it. But yeah, so if you're hearing me say it, then this is the one with some of the cool music and really pretty music and stuff. So after that little dance party, he met this guy who lost his brother at sea or whatever, or his brother got lost at sea. He ends up meeting these two other guys who had just dropped out of the competition, and they're like, oh, you like boats? I'll go show you a boat. And they go to this yacht yard or boat yard or whatever where some yachts are. He's like, look at that boat. And this guy's like, you own them all? And he's like, don't be stupid. And then they go on a boat just to look at it or whatever, and they come across, oh, look at this, you can cross you can cross the ocean in this boat. And it's like, oh, look, it's all stocked up, like the food and everything like that. And they end up meeting this guy who's sleeping there, and he's like, what are you doing? And of course you think it's his boat, and they're like, well, alright, you guys just want to look at the boat. Well, you can just spend the night now. This is kind of contrived. Now that you're here, spend the night and you'll leave in the morning. So that's kind of dumb, because they need to do that for this plot point. So all of a sudden we wake up in the morning and the boat's at sea. So this guy who had lost his brother over at night had taken the boat out to the ocean and in a search for his brother, and it's like, oh, where are we? You know, and it's just like, oh, you fool. So we end up finding out that this guy who we thought was the owner of this boat is actually a robber who had just stolen some money, which is kind of cool, whatever. Cool, it's kind of an interesting start to the movie, you know, unlike some of the other movies, Godzilla movies. So, and there's some really pretty shots, I believe, of like this yacht actually on the ocean and stuff, and I think the music's really nice and stuff. So that's pretty cool, and of course eventually they end up, I think the sea monster Hedorah or whatever actually is the one who shows up and basically destroys the boat, and they end up jumping overboard and get washed ashore on this island the movie takes place on. I think there's this one scene later on, I think, where this is I think when it's on the island, where a couple of natives try to, I don't know what the hell they're trying to do. They're paddling out in their little outrigger canoe or whatever, but there's a shot or a scene where these two natives from the island or whatever are like attacked by, again, Hedorah attacks them, and it's like impales him on his, you know, claw, on his lobster claw, and he's like, wah. But this really cool thing they do with the models, because they actually made like a little miniature outrigger canoe with animated, like, you know, for the shots where like they're in the miniature with the monster Hedorah guy in a suit or whatever the hell it is, there's actually a little, you know, little outrigger canoe with a couple figures actually, you know, making motion. That's really cool, and he destroys that. And I love stuff like that, you know, the little mock-up miniatures of the reality stuff. I just eat that stuff up. I love that. You know, so like I say, those two poor souls end up getting impaled on Hedorah's, you know, aka the sea monster's little lobster claw, and their fate is pretty much decided by that. And there's some kind of operation going on this island where these bad guys have some big factory. I can't remember what the hell's going on the island. Like, these bad guys who are like, they're making the natives, these bad guys are enslaving the natives on the island, and they have some, like, you know, whatever, some little, for some facility. So they're making the natives basically, you know, harness this yellow whatever fruit or whatever, and making this stuff, which is actually is the only way they can go to, and the bad guys can go to and from the island. They spray this yellow stuff, and it keeps, you know, Hedorah, aka Sea Monster, at bay from attacking them. I can't remember, you know, why they're on the island other than to enslave the natives to make this stuff. There must be some other reason. But just like so many of these Godzilla movies, this movie features a pretty sexy ass. This one's actually pretty sexy, like kind, with this native girl who's pretty, you know, pretty sexy, and they end up meeting with her. These three guys end up meeting with her, and she thinks they're with them, with the bad guys, but they're not. And then they end up finding out that Godzilla is actually on the island, just sleeping in some big cave or something like that. And they're like, ooh, you know, we can wake up Godzilla to, I don't know what, to maybe, I don't know why they want to wake up Godzilla, maybe to distract the bad guys who are enslaving the natives so they can get away or something. But of course he ends up, you know, there's two battles, you know, and a preliminary battle with the sea monster, and then another battle. And this, just like the last movie, features a lovely, you know, volleyball moment where they take a big huge rock and they're like, you know, that must have went over well in the last movie. Actually, not the last movie, the one before it, the whatever the hell movie that was, the one before Astro Monster. What was that? Oh, Ghidorah, the three-headed monster. That was the one with the, I think the very first time the volleyball rock thing appeared in a Godzilla movie. So this one features that again between Godzilla and Hedorah, the sea monster. This movie also features a special appearance by Mothra, who saves the day at the very end. I think this is the movie. They all blur together, so if it isn't, forgive me. But I'm pretty sure it's the movie where the little girls, the little Mothra twins, tell the natives to make a big net, and they're like, why? And you'll know why when the time's right. And they make a big net, and they all end up getting in it, and Mothra, I think this island ends up just exploding at the end, I think. And they all get in the net, and Mothra comes and picks them up and saves the day and saves all of them, and they're like, hey Godzilla, I think this is the one, they're like, jump away, it's gonna, because the bad guys, somehow a self-destruct mechanism got set, I don't know how, but it did. And the whole island just explodes and blows up right, you know, just moments before Godzilla leaped into the ocean, and all's well that ends well. Another thing about this movie is they actually have a, instead of like, I think it was one of the last two movies, I think it was probably the Ghidorah, the three-headed monster, is the one that I commented about that had a Mothra song twice. This one's actually got a pretty cool new Mothra song, which I think is only heard once, but I think I don't know exactly what it is, but I remember thinking that's pretty cool, and I think it's new for this movie, so that's pretty cool. So I'm going to go 2.5 stars on Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster. It's kind of cool, but at the end of the day, there's a lot of just what I'd call empty stuff. A lot of running around on the island, just like, yeah, you're running around. They end up waking up Godzilla. This native girl ends up stealing like this big bunch of a copper cable or something like that. And this one guy's got a sword. I can't remember where he got this sword, but he's got a sword. And then there's a lightning storm. And they put the sword on top of the mountain with the little copper wire running down into Godzilla. Whoever, you know, tiptoed down and put it, put the wire over by Godzilla, I don't know who did that. They don't show that. I can't remember exactly where the wire touched Godzilla, you know. But like I say, I can't remember if there's a reason for these bad guys to be on the island other than simply making the natives make this stuff that repels the sea monster. But you know, if there's a reason, forgive me, I forgot what it was. But you know, it's all about monster mayhem anyway, which is pretty cool. And I always like the, you know, the battles in water and stuff. And since this is of course a sea monster, this has got a lot of, or not a lot, but 2 battles in the water. So thank you very much for watching. And oh my gosh, Godzilla rips off one of his claws or something, and is like, like, that's so funny. That's so cool. I think he rips off both his claws. One claw is like bigger than the other. It's weird. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.